Okay, so picture this. You're a king, right? Powerful, respected. You hear all these whispers of this new god, this god of like wine ecstasy.
Yeah.
And he's inspiring your people to, let's just say, loosen up a little bit.
Right.
But you're a stickler for rules and order. So you decide to just put a stop to all this revelry.
Yeah.
You're like, nope, we're not doing that, outlaw. This God's worship. Forbid all the rituals.
Wow.
But then suddenly you find yourself strangely compelled to dress as a woman.
What?
Lured into this crazy gathering in the woods.
Oh, no.
And ultimately, well, let's just say, things don't end well for you.
Okay.
That is the tragic tale of King Pentheus.
All right.
And it kind of perfectly captures the power and danger of the god we're diving into today.
Yeah, Dionysus. Dionysus is such a fascinating figure because he's not just a god of wine and parties.
Right.
I mean, those are certainly part of his appeal.
Of course.
But he embodies this incredible duality,
Yeah.
representing both those ecstatic highs and the potential for like chaos and destruction. He's a force of nature.
Yeah.
Really, a catalyst for transformation.
He really is. And we've got some really incredible sources today to help us unpack all of this.
Oh, yeah.
We've got myths that have been passed down for centuries.
Wow.
Analysis from scholars who have dedicated their lives to understanding Dionysus.
Amazing.
And even some glimpses into how he's been portrayed in like art and literature throughout history.
Yeah.
So by the end of this deep dive, you'll see why this god was both revered and feared in ancient Greece.
Yes.
And how his influence still ripples through our culture today.
It's true. We'll uncover his unusual birth,
Yeah.
explore his connection to the underworld,
Oh, wow.
and even delve into his influence on theater and comedy.
Okay.
You might be surprised by how much of Dionysus we still see in our world today.
I'm ready. Let's start at the beginning then, shall we?
Let's do it.
Dionysus's origin story is anything but ordinary.
Yeah.
I mean, how many gods can claim to be thrice born?
Right. That's a great place to start. This thrice-born concept is crucial to understanding him. It speaks to his resilience, his ability to overcome obstacles, and ultimately his power.
So the story goes like this: Zeus, king of the gods,
Yeah.
falls for this mortal woman named Semele.
Okay.
They have this passionate love affair.
Mm.
Semele becomes pregnant with Dionysus.
All right.
And now you can just imagine how Hera, Zeus's wife,
Of course.
felt about this whole situation.
Hera's jealousy is legendary.
Right.
She is not one to sit idly by while her husband has a child with another woman.
Nope.
So she tricks Semele into demanding that Zeus reveal himself to her in his true glorious form.
Oh, no.
Of course, mortals can't handle the full force of divine power,
Okay.
and Semele is tragically incinerated.
Talk about a traumatic start to life.
I know.
But as you mentioned, Dionysus is a survivor.
He is.
Zeus manages to rescue the unborn Dionysus from the flames.
Wow.
And sews him into his own thigh
His thigh.
to continue gestating. Yeah, you heard that right. His thigh.
It's a pretty vivid image, isn't it?
It is.
And it suggests that Dionysus is not only a survivor, but also deeply connected to Zeus,
Yeah.
inheriting a unique level of divine power.
And so after a full term in Zeus's, shall we say, unconventional womb,
Yeah.
Dionysus is born fully formed and ready to, as they say, shake things up. So there you have it. Born from a mortal, rescued by Zeus, and reborn through him.
Wow.
3 births, 3 chances to defy fate.
This extraordinary birth sets the stage for everything that follows.
Yeah.
It establishes Dionysus as an outsider god,
Okay.
someone who exists between the realms of the mortal and the divine.
Interesting.
And this outsider status becomes a key part of his appeal,
Yeah.
especially to those who felt marginalized in Greek society.
Okay, so we've got this like dramatic entrance into the world.
Uh-huh.
But what exactly makes Dionysus, well, Dionysus?
Think about the symbols associated with him.
Okay.
Grapes, ivy leopard skin, the thyrsus, and
Yeah.
staff topped with the pine cone.
Right.
These all point to his domains.
Okay.
Wine ecstasy wilderness and the power of nature itself.
Got it.
He's often depicted as youthful and beautiful,
Uh-huh.
symbolizing the allure of pleasure and freedom.
But it's not all fun and games, right?
Right?
There's a darker side to him as well.
Yeah.
A hint of danger? He's a god of extremes?
Yes,
Capable of both immense joy and terrible wrath.
exactly. That leopard skin he wears, it suggests his wild, untamed nature,
Okay.
his connection to the primal instincts that can lead to both liberation and destruction.
Right.
He's a reminder that life, like wine, has its intoxicating highs and its bitter lows.
This paradox, this duality, is what makes him so fascinating, don't you think?
Absolutely. It keeps you guessing,
Yeah.
keeps you on your toes.
Right.
He's not a god you can easily categorize or control.
And that's part of what makes his myths so captivating.
Yes.
They explore these extremes of human experience,
Yeah.
pushing us to confront our own capacity for both joy and madness, for creation and destruction.
That's it.
So speaking of myths, let's dive into one that really illustrates this duality. The story of King Midas and the Golden Touch.
Of course. You know this one,
I
right?
do. It's a classic tale about greed, the dangers of unchecked desire,
Yeah.
and ultimately the possibility of redemption.
Exactly.
Okay, picture this. King Midas is obsessed with wealth.
Okay.
He wants more and more of it,
Yeah.
to the point where it consumes him.
Right.
One day, Silenus, a companion of Dionysus,
Uh-huh.
stumbles into Midas's garden, completely lost and intoxicated.
Oh, no.
Midas, surprisingly, treats Silenus with kindness and hospitality,
Really?
taking care of him until Dionysus arrives to retrieve his friend.
Wow.
Dionysus, touched by Midas's generosity,
Yeah.
offers to grant him any wish he desires.
Okay.
And this is where Midas's greed gets the better of him. He wishes for everything he touches to turn to gold.
Oh.
And of course, Dionysus, being a god of his word, grants this wish.
Oh, dear.
But as Midas soon discovers, this gift is actually a curse.
Right.
His food turns to gold. He can't eat or drink. And even his beloved daughter turns into a cold, lifeless statue when he embraces her.
Oh, it's awful.
It's a powerful lesson about the dangers of valuing material wealth over everything else.
Yes.
Midas learns the hard way that true happiness comes from connection, from love,
Yeah.
from experiencing life in all its richness, not from accumulating possessions.
So true.
And what's interesting is that Dionysus doesn't just leave Midas to suffer the consequences of his foolish wish.
Okay.
He shows compassion, offering him a way to undo the curse,
Wow.
and even imbuing a nearby river with gold, so
Really?
that Midas can still have a connection to wealth,
Yeah.
but in a way that doesn't destroy everything he loves.
Exactly. It shows that Dionysus, while capable of punishing those who disrespect him,
Huh?
can also be incredibly merciful.
Yeah.
He understands the complexities of human desire
Right.
and the potential for even the most greedy individuals to learn and grow.
Okay, so we've seen Dionysus' compassionate side,
Yeah.
but let's move on to a myth that highlights a different aspect of his character.
Right.
His power. And let's be honest, his tendency to hold a grudge.
Okay.
Remember those pirates we mentioned earlier?
Yes. The pirates who thought they could kidnap this handsome young man,
Right.
assuming he was a wealthy prince, and hold him for ransom,
Yeah.
they had no idea they were messing with a god,
Nope.
and a particularly vengeful one at that.
It's a scene straight out of a Hollywood action movie.
Oh, yeah.
The pirates try to tie Dionysus up,
Uh-huh.
but the ropes simply fall away.
Wow.
Then vines and ivy begin to entangle the ship.
What?
A fearsome bear appears on deck,
Aww.
and Dionysus transforms into a roaring lion.
This is intense.
The pirates, utterly terrified,
Yeah.
leap overboard, hoping to escape his wrath.
Right.
But their punishment has only just begun.
Oh, no.
As they hit the water, they are transformed into dolphins,
Dolphins.
forever bound to the sea.
Wow.
It's a pretty dramatic display of power, wouldn't you say?
Definitely.
And it underscores that while Dionysus can be forgiving, he's not someone you want to cross. Disrespect him, and you might just end up swimming with the fishes. Or in this case, as a fish.
This myth also highlights Dionysus' connection to the sea,
Yeah,
which isn't always emphasized in his stories.
true.
It adds another layer to his complexity,
Yeah.
reminding us that he's a god of nature in all its forms,
Right?
from the fertile vineyards to the wild, untamed ocean.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So we've seen how Dionysus can be both incredibly merciful and, terrifyingly vengeful.
Right.
But there's another side to him that we haven't really explored yet.
Uh-huh.
A side that connects him to the mysteries of the underworld.
Okay.
Remember how his mother Semele met such a tragic end?
Well, Dionysus isn't one to let a little thing like death separate him from his loved ones.
Right.
He was deeply devoted to his mother.
Yeah.
And he decided to undertake this perilous journey to rescue her from the realm of Hades.
That's right. He descends into the underworld,
Yeah.
navigating this treacherous landscape
Uh-huh.
and facing countless dangers, all to bring his mother back to the world of the living.
It's a testament to his love for Semele.
Yeah.
But it also speaks to his power over death itself. He
Right.
was able to defy the natural order,
Yeah.
to cross that boundary between life and death,
Uh.
and ultimately to triumph over the forces of darkness.
This journey to the underworld also, deepens Dionysus's association with transformation and rebirth.
Absolutely.
He's not just a god of wine and ecstasy.
Right.
He's a god who understands the cycles of life and death.
Yeah.
And the potential for renewal that exists even in the face of loss.
And this theme of rebirth ties directly into the Dionysiac mysteries.
Okay.
Secret rituals that offered followers a chance to experience a very different kind of afterlife.
So unlike the traditional Greek underworld,
Right.
which was often depicted as like a gloomy and shadowy place,
Yes.
Dionysus offered his initiates a realm of eternal revelry.
That's right.
So instead of spending eternity in like a dark and dreary underworld,
Yeah.
you could be partying with Dionysus,
Yes.
enjoying endless wine music and sunshine.
It sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
Sign me up.
It's a vision of the afterlife that's much more appealing, isn't it?
Definitely.
And it speaks to Dionysus's ability to offer not just earthly pleasures, but also spiritual liberation,
Okay.
a way to transcend the limitations of mortal existence.
These Dionysiac mysteries were a huge deal in ancient Greece.
They were.
They provided a sense of hope and purpose for many people,
Uh-huh.
offering a way to connect with the divine and to overcome the fear of death.
And we even have some fascinating archaeological evidence
Really?
that sheds light on these mysteries.
Huh?
Gold tablets with inscribed verses have been found in tombs.
Wow.
And scholars believe these tablets served as mnemonic aids, helping initiates navigate the afterlife
Right.
and ensure a smooth transition into Dionysus's blissful realm.
Imagine having a cheat sheet for the underworld.
Right.
It just shows how important these rituals were to the people who practiced them.
These Dionysiac mysteries were part of a larger tradition of mystery cults in ancient Greece, the most famous being the Eleusinian mysteries.
Right.
These cults offered initiates a path to spiritual enlightenment and a deeper understanding of the mysteries of life and death.
So both the Dionysiac and Eleusinian mysteries provided a way for people to connect with something larger than themselves,
Yes.
to find meaning and purpose in a world that could often feel chaotic and unpredictable.
Exactly. They offered a sense of hope and a promise of something beyond the ordinary,
Yeah.
which is a theme that resonates throughout all of Dionysus's myths.
Okay, so we've seen Dionysus's compassion for his mother,
Yeah.
his power over death,
Right.
and his connection to the promise of a blissful afterlife.
Huh?
But let's go back to that story we started with,
Okay.
the tale of King Pentheus,
All right.
because it really gets to the heart of Dionysus' duality
Yeah.
and the dangers of denying his power.
Pentheus represents everything that Dionysus is not.
Okay.
He's rigid controlled, obsessed with order and reason.
Yeah.
He sees Dionysus's ecstatic rituals and the frenzied behavior of his followers as a threat to his authority
Right.
and to the stability of his kingdom.
He's basically like the ultimate party pooper, right?
Pretty much. And his attempts to suppress Dionysus and his followers only backfire spectacularly.
So Dionysus arrives in Thebes,
Yeah,
and Pentheus is immediately suspicious.
of course.
He sees the ecstatic rituals, the music, the dancing,
Right.
and he decides to just outlaw the whole thing.
Wow.
He forbids the worship of Dionysus
Uh-huh.
and tries to imprison his followers.
But Dionysus is not so easily defeated.
Nope.
He has a few tricks up his sleeve,
Okay.
and he's determined to teach Pentheus a lesson he won't forget.
This is where things get a little wild.
Yeah.
Dionysus uses his power to subtly manipulate Pentheus,
Okay.
driving him mad with curiosity
Uh-huh.
and a desire to see what these wild women are up to in the woods.
He even convinces Pentheus to dress up as a woman
What?
and sneak into the Bacchic rituals to get a closer look.
Talk about adding insult to injury.
Right.
And, well, as we mentioned at the beginning, things don't end well for Pentheus.
No, they don't.
The women, in their ecstatic frenzy,
Yeah.
mistake him for a wild animal and tear him limb from limb
Oh,
with
wow.
his own mother among those leading the charge.
It's a gruesome scene,
Yeah.
and it serves as a stark warning about the consequences of denying the power of Dionysus.
It's a reminder that we can't simply ignore or repress our primal instincts,
Right.
our need for release and connection.
Exactly. This myth also highlights the dangers of hubris, of overreaching and believing that we can control forces that are ultimately beyond our grasp.
Right.
Pentheus thought he could contain Dionysus,
Yeah.
but he underestimated the god's power and the allure he held for the people of Thebes.
And this story became the basis for Euripides' famous play, The Bacchae,
Yes.
which explores these themes of blasphemy, the dangers of repression, and the power of the irrational.
It's a play that continues to be performed and debated today, proving the enduring relevance of Dionysus and the questions he raises about the human condition.
You know, it's interesting that we've been talking about Dionysus, primarily as a god of tragedy and extremes,
Yeah,
but he's also closely associated with theater and comedy.
that's right. It might seem like a surprising connection,
Yeah.
but when you think about it, it makes perfect sense.
Okay.
Theater, especially comedy,
Uh-huh.
provides a space for release,
Right.
for laughter, for poking fun at authority, and for
Yeah.
exploring the absurd.
And isn't that what Dionysus is all about?
Exactly.
Breaking down barriers, challenging conventions,
Mhm.
and reminding us that life is full of paradoxes and unexpected turns.
Absolutely. And the Greeks weren't afraid to poke fun at their gods,
Yeah.
even the most powerful ones.
Right.
In Aristophanes' play, The Frogs,
Okay.
Dionysus is portrayed as a rather bumbling and clueless figure,
Really?
a far cry from the awe-inspiring god we see in other myths.
So they could revere him as this powerful deity,
Yeah.
while also laughing at his foibles and using his stories to explore the complexities of human nature.
Exactly. It shows a remarkable level of sophistication in their understanding of religion
Yeah.
and their willingness to use humor and satire to examine even the most serious subjects.
Okay, before we move on to Dionysus's lasting legacy and his presence in our modern world, let's touch on his love life.
Yeah.
He may be a god of revelry,
Right.
but he also has a romantic side.
His most famous love story involves Ariadne,
Okay.
a Cretan princess who helped Theseus escape the labyrinth after slaying the Minotaur.
Right.
Sadly, Theseus abandons Ariadne on an island,
Oh, no.
leaving her heartbroken and alone.
Talk about a bad breakup.
I know, but luckily for Ariadne, Dionysus happens to be passing by,
Okay.
and he's immediately smitten with her.
Wow.
He rescues her from her solitude and sweeps her off her feet, literally taking her back to Mount Olympus, where she becomes a goddess.
It's a beautiful story of rescue and transformation,
It is.
highlighting Dionysus's compassion and his ability to offer solace and elevation to those who have been wronged or abandoned.
It's also a reminder that even in the midst of heartbreak and loss,
Yeah.
there's always the possibility for new beginnings and unexpected joy.
And speaking of solace, there's one more myth we should touch on before we move on.
Okay.
The story of Icarius and his daughter Erigon.
Right.
It's a bit of a tearjerker,
Yeah.
but it's essential to understanding Dionysus's role in Athenian culture
Uh-huh.
and his connection to the cycle of the seasons.
Icarius was a kind and hospitable farmer who welcomed Dionysus into his home. Dionysus, grateful for Icarius's hospitality,
Yeah.
taught him the secrets of viticulture, the art of making wine.
So Icarius learned how to cultivate grapes,
Yes.
ferment the juice,
Uh-huh.
and create this delicious and intoxicating beverage.
Exactly. Icarius, excited about his newfound knowledge,
Yeah.
shared it with his neighbors,
Okay.
teaching them how to make wine as well.
Cool.
However, they'd never tasted anything like it before. And in their inexperience, they overindulged.
They got a little too enthusiastic about their first taste of wine.
You could say that they became incredibly drunk.
Oh, no.
And in their stupor, they mistook Icarius for someone trying to poison them.
Really?
Tragically, they killed him.
Oh, no. That's awful.
It is a tragic tale. Icarius's faithful daughter, Aragon,
Yeah.
heartbroken by her father's death,
Uh-huh.
searched for him tirelessly.
Wow.
When she finally discovered his body,
Yeah.
she was so overcome with grief that she hanged herself.
What a devastating story.
This tragedy deeply affected Dionysus.
Right.
He was enraged by the injustice of Icarius's death
Uh-huh.
and the profound sorrow of Aragon,
Yeah.
who punished the land for this act.
Okay.
He cursed Athens with a plague of madness,
Oh, wow.
causing young Athenian women to follow Aragone's example.
So the city was plunged into chaos and despair.
Exactly. The people of Athens were desperate to appease Dionysus and lift the curse.
Yeah.
An oracle revealed that the only way to do so was to find Icarius's murderers, bring them to justice,
Uh-huh.
and institute a festival in honor of both Icarius and Aragone.
And so the Anthesteria festival was born.
Precisely. The Anthesteria was a multi-day festival held each spring in Athens.
Okay.
It was a time to celebrate the new wine,
Yeah.
to remember the dead, and to seek Dionysus's blessing for a bountiful harvest.
So it was a way to honor the cycle of life and death,
Yes.
to acknowledge the sorrow of loss,
Right.
while also celebrating the renewal and abundance that spring brings.
Exactly. The Anthesteria beautifully illustrates Dionysus's multifaceted nature.
Okay.
He's a god of joy and celebration,
Yeah.
but he's also deeply connected to the underworld,
Right.
to the cycle of life and death,
Mm-hmm.
and to the importance of honoring the past while looking forward to the future.
It's a poignant reminder that even in the midst of revelry,
Yeah.
There's a need for balance and a recognition of the darker aspects of life.
And that's a key takeaway from all of these myths.
Okay.
Dionysus is a god of contradictions, of duality. He represents the light and the shadow, the ecstasy and the sorrow, the creative and the destructive forces that are constantly at play in the universe.
All right, we're back and ready to wrap up our deep dive into the world of Dionysus. We've explored his myths, his symbols, his connection to the underworld, and even his surprising link to comedy.
We've seen how he embodies this incredible duality, representing both the intoxicating highs and the potential for chaos and destruction. He's a force of nature, a catalyst for transformation, a god who challenges us to confront the full spectrum of human experience.
And we've touched on how his influence extends far beyond ancient Greece, echoing in art literature and even modern-day festivals. But now, let's get specific. What are some concrete examples of where we see Dionysus's fingerprints in our modern world?
Well, let's start with film. Think about movies like The Matrix or Fight Club.
Yep.
Both explore themes of rebellion against societal norms,
Yeah.
embracing a hidden reality, and ultimately seeking a form of liberation. Sound familiar?
It totally does. It's like those protagonists are going through their own Dionysiac journeys, breaking free from the constraints of the ordinary world and discovering a deeper, more authentic truth.
Exactly. Those films tap into that same yearning for something more,
Right.
that desire to transcend the limitations of everyday life that we see in the myths of Dionysus.
Yeah.
They challenge us to question our perceptions, to break free from the matrix of conformity, and to embrace the raw, untamed energy of our true selves.
Okay, that makes sense. How about music? Where do we see Dionysus showing up there?
Oh, in so many places. Think about rock and roll,
Okay.
with its emphasis on raw energy, emotional release, and pushing boundaries. It's almost like a modern-day Bacchic ritual, complete with ecstatic fans and a sense of collective frenzy. The music allows people to let loose, to connect with their primal instincts, and to experience a kind of transcendent unity.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
But what about other genres like electronic dance music,
Right.
where the focus is on losing yourself in the rhythm, connecting with others through dance, and experiencing a kind of trance-like state?
It's all connected. These musical genres, while diverse in style and sound, tap into that same primal energy,
Yeah.
that desire for release and transcendence that we see in the worship of Dionysus.
Okay.
They provide a space for people to escape the mundane, to shed their inhibitions, and to connect with something larger than themselves.
Okay, I'm starting to see Dionysus everywhere now. I never realized how much he's woven into the fabric of our modern world. But it's not just in art and music, right?
Right. Psychology has even adopted the term Dionysian to describe certain personality types and psychological states.
Really? Tell me more about that.
People with a strong Dionysian personality tend to be more spontaneous, emotional, and driven by instinct and intuition.
Okay.
They embrace change, seek intense experiences, and often have a strong connection to the creative arts.
So it's not just about partying.
Right.
It's a whole way of being in the world, a way of experiencing life more fully and embracing all that it has to offer.
Precisely. And there's a growing recognition in psychology that these Dionysian qualities, while sometimes seen as chaotic or disruptive, are actually essential for a balanced and fulfilling life.
Okay.
We need that wildness, that passion, that willingness to step outside our comfort zones and embrace the unknown.
Wow. I'm starting to think we could all use a little more Dionysus in our lives.
Yeah.
But you mentioned balance earlier.
Yeah.
How do we find that balance between the Dionysian and the Apollonian?
Right.
Between order and chaos, reason and intuition?
That's the key, isn't it? It's not about letting the Dionysian energy run wild and unchecked.
Yeah.
It's about integrating those qualities, the passion, the creativity, the willingness to embrace the unknown with the Apollonian aspects of ourselves.
Right.
Reason, structure, and discipline.
So it's about finding that sweet spot, that harmonious balance between the two.
Exactly. It's about embracing the full spectrum of our being.
Yeah.
Recognizing that we are complex creatures capable of both great joy and deep sorrow, of incredible creativity and destructive impulses. And it's about finding ways to express all of these aspects of ourselves in healthy and meaningful ways.
So Dionysus isn't just about letting loose and having a good time,
Right.
though there's certainly nothing wrong with that.
Of course not.
He's also about embracing the fullness of life, with all its paradoxes and complexities.
That's a great way to put it. He challenges us to live more authentically, to
Right.
connect with our deepest selves, and to create a world that reflects the beauty, the wildness, and the infinite possibilities of the human spirit.
Okay, so we've talked about film music psychology. Are there any other unexpected places where Dionysus's influence pops up?
How about social movements? Think about movements that challenge the status quo,
Okay.
that seek to break down old structures and create something new. The civil rights movement, the feminist movement, even the environmental movement, they all tap into that same energy of disruption and transformation that we see in Dionysus.
You're right. Those movements are about challenging authority,
Hmm.
embracing change,
Hmm.
and ultimately seeking a more just and equitable world.
Exactly. And they often involve elements of ritual, music, and collective action, echoing the ecstatic gatherings of Dionysus's followers in ancient Greece. They tap into that same sense of collective energy and the power of shared experience to create lasting change.
So what does this all mean? What's the big takeaway from all these modern-day examples of Dionysus's influence?
I think it tells us that Dionysus represents something essential in the human spirit,
Right.
a yearning for connection, for release, for transcendence, a desire to break free from the constraints of the ordinary and embrace the full spectrum of human experience, both the light and the shadow.
He reminds us that life isn't just about following rules and conforming to expectations.
Right.
It's about embracing the wildness within, finding our own rhythm, and creating something new, something meaningful, something that reflects our unique individuality.
Dionysus challenges us to question our assumptions, to embrace the unknown, and to find our own unique path to wholeness. And he reminds us that even in the midst of chaos and uncertainty, there's always the potential for beauty, joy, and transformation.
Wow, I'm feeling inspired. Dionysus may be an ancient god, but his message is more relevant than ever. He reminds us to embrace life fully, to celebrate our individuality, and to never be afraid to unleash our own wild side.
So the next time you raise a glass of wine, attend a music festival, or feel that urge to break free from the ordinary, remember Dionysus.
Yeah.
He's there reminding you to embrace life's fullness, to dance to the rhythm of your own soul, and to never stop exploring the infinite possibilities that exist within you.
And on that note, I think it's time for us to wrap up this deep dive into the world of Dionysus. We hope you've enjoyed exploring the myths and mysteries of this complex and compelling god.
And we hope you'll continue to ponder the questions we've raised today, to look for the echoes of Dionysus in your own life and in the world around you. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and never stop dancing to the rhythm of your own soul.